Imagine being trapped inside a steel building the size of a city block, surrounded by ice pressing in from every direction, and you can't call anyone. This is the reality for icebreaker crews, and what keeps them alive might be the most brilliant engineering trick you've never heard of.
Picture this. You're in the middle of the Arctic Ocean. It's 3 a.m., pitch black outside, and your 25,000-ton ship has just stopped moving. Not because something broke, not because the captain made a mistake, because the ice, millions of tons of it, just decided it owns you now. Most people don't even know ships like this exist. Most people have never heard of a nuclear-powered icebreaker, and most people definitely don't know that the crew trapped inside has a playbook of secret engineering moves that are flat-out wild. You're about to find out exactly what those moves are and why they work. But first, you need to understand something about this ship that changes everything. Because the moment you realize what's powering this thing, the whole story hits different. This isn't your average cargo vessel. We're talking about a nuclear-powered icebreaker, a machine so advanced it makes a regular warship look like a rowboat. It carries 54 crew members on missions that last up to 122 days, cutting through ice sheets thick enough to swallow a school bus whole. The ship runs on a nuclear reactor, not diesel, not gas, a reactor that never shuts off. Even when the ship is completely locked in place, frozen solid, that reactor keeps humming. It heats the ship, powers the lights, desalinates water from ice, and keeps every single person on board alive. And here's the part that sounds insane. The crew actually prefers it that way, because the reactor being on means the ship is never truly dead, even when it looks like it is. But surviving the cold is only half the battle. The real problem? Keeping 54 humans mentally intact for 4 months straight. Getting selected for one of these missions isn't about being the toughest person in the room. It's about being the most mentally compatible. Engineers, navigators, cooks, medics, every single person on that ship is vetted for one specific trait: the ability to endure long-term isolation without cracking. Because in the Arctic, the sun doesn't rise for months. The landscape doesn't change. The routine doesn't change. And the psychological pressure builds slow, quiet, and deadly. So the crew runs on a system that sounds almost military. 4 hours on duty, 8 hours off. Non-stop, around the clock, for the entire 122-day mission. No exceptions. The whole schedule is designed to keep the human brain sharp enough to make good decisions. Because one bad call in the Arctic doesn't just cost money, it costs lives. And the scariest shift of the entire day, it doesn't happen during a storm. It happens at 4 a.m. And there's a biological reason for that. Every crew member on an icebreaker knows the dog watch. That's the 4 a.m. shift. And it's not called dangerous for drama. There's actual science behind it. The human body hits its lowest physiological performance point between 3 and 5 a.m. Reaction time drops. Focus gets foggy. Decision-making slows. And the worst part? You don't feel it happening. It's like driving tired. You feel fine, right up until you're not. That's why the shift protocols during the dog watch are stricter than any other time on the ship. Double checks on every system. No solo decisions. Everything gets verified twice. The engineers who designed this schedule studied human error patterns across decades of maritime disasters and built the entire routine around preventing that one moment where someone makes a call they shouldn't have made because their body gave out before their brain admitted it. But here's the real question. When the ice actually locks you in and won't let go, what do you actually do about it? When a 25,000-ton icebreaker gets stuck, the crew doesn't panic. They run a playbook. Step 1 is ramming. The ship backs up and drives straight at the ice, using its own weight like a battering ram. Sometimes that works. Sometimes the ice just laughs at you. Step 2 is something called pneumatic washing. The ship pumps compressed air bubbles along the hull, which reduces friction between the steel and the ice like a layer of lubrication. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it works. Step 3 is the healing tanks. Massive water tanks on each side of the ship that can shift thousands of tons of water from port to starboard in seconds, rocking the entire vessel back and forth to crack the ice seal around the hull. Think of it like wiggling a ring off a finger, except the finger is 500 feet of steel and the ring weighs more than a skyscraper. But what happens when even that isn't enough? There's one last move in the playbook, and it's the most brutal one. When everything else fails, the crew goes to propeller milling. The ship's massive stern propellers, spinning at full power, are angled directly into the ice to literally chew through it. It's not elegant. It's not quiet. It sounds like the ship is eating the ocean. But it gets the job done. And if even that fails, the crew does something that goes against every instinct. They wait. They monitor the wind. They track the current patterns. They watch satellite feeds of the ice field and wait for nature to shift the ice on its own. Sometimes that shift takes hours. Once it took a full 24 hours. But patience is a tool just as much as a propeller is. The crew understands something most people don't. In the Arctic, you don't fight the environment. You work with it, because the environment always wins the fight. So what's it actually like to go through all of that and come out the other side? That answer might be the most unexpected part of this whole story. Here's what most people miss about icebreaker crews. These aren't just engineers and navigators grinding through a job. These are people who've chosen to disappear from the world for 4 months at a time, operating at the edge of what human engineering and human psychology can actually handle. And every time they break free from the ice, whether it takes 2 hours or 24, there's this moment. The ship starts moving again. The engines shift. The hull stops groaning. And somewhere on that bridge, somebody exhales. Because they know it wasn't just the reactor or the propellers or the healing tanks that got them through it. It was the system, the schedule, the training, the trust. The thing that keeps a nuclear icebreaker running isn't just engineering. It's the people inside it, making 1,000 small decisions right every single day, in the dark, in the cold, when nobody's watching. Now, here's what I want you to answer in the comments. If you were on that crew, which shift would you dread more? The 4 a.m. dog watch alone at the controls? Or being the one who has to decide when to wait and when to fight the ice? Drop your answer below, because the right answer might actually surprise you.